with October 10th? Huh? I know there is a traditional Chinese talk about October 10th gets a word, 招10月10日 something, but has nothing to do with October 10th. Okay. Okay, let me see whether yeah, okay, who got it? Yeah, 约旦. Okay. This country here. Jordan. And people say, oh, Michael Jordan. Jordan. So 约 appointment in the morning. Yeah, 约旦. Okay. So so we are moving along. How many do we have right now? About 10? I cannot believe my wife is actually going to 飞鸽传书. We have a friend who worked for that notorious company is causing the spill right now in the Gulf of Mexico. Do you know which company caused the oil spill in Louisiana? Oil companies, bad people. Which company is responsible? Have you heard about the spill? Okay. You don't know which country. First of all, which country has the spill? Oil spill. Gallons. Millions of gallons. It's the United States. Okay. And in a state very close to the state called Louisiana. Now, what was the last disaster at Louisiana? New Orleans. What is it? Katrina. So Obama has his own Katrina now. Okay, the oil spill, right? But this oil spill is caused by the company called British Petroleum. Strangely, huh? British Petroleum. Why don't they, extract our oil in the British, by Great Britain? But it's in the Gulf of Mexico. So here you have a spill, and my friend who worked for the British Petroleum at Trinidad. So my wife said she's going to visit, this friend of us who worked for this notorious company called British Petroleum, BP, at Trinidad. Okay, 飞鸽传书. So we have that one, right? And my brother called me. My brother is a petrochemical engineer. He called me from Brazil yesterday. Said he's on his way to, somewhere in Guyana, somewhere area to do. So that's, we have a lot of countries now accumulating. So in the final, you will be tested on that one. Okay. Now, let's try 五改零和根. Yeah. Okay. Do you remember this one? We have horizontal cleavage. Can you give me one example? Horizontal. By the way, the oil platform, the oil rig that it was leaking the well is called what? Deepwater Horizon. Horizontal. What is horizontal? You understand horizon. Okay, so what is the horizontal cleavage? Give me example.
The conflict between the communism and capitalism.
Between what?
Communism.
Community?
Communism.
Communism. Okay, but that's communism is very good in we call maybe explaining what is horizontal cleavage. It's very good in exploiting the cleavage. But what is that cleavage? Use one word. Will be what? I think we discussed last week. I also used my own story that I was not aware of my poor status until someone reminded me. You know, people's status in a society. Which one? Were you here last week? Yes? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Double check. What was this cleavage? Cleavage is something that will divide people. Okay? Economy. Okay, that's still, we are fishing, it's close. But what do we call that? If you and me are distinguished by our economic or financial ability, what do we call? Credit? Yeah, okay, I can have better credit in borrowing money. But I'll also tell you, in a society, what's the difference between people who have money and people who are, with less money or financial means, we call. How do we, use a scholarly term to distinguish these groups? We can say poor and rich, but then what's the difference? Remember that word proletariat? We went through that word proletariat. We call property-less people. Do you remember that word, proletariat, at all? Okay, let's try. I want to make sure you understand, because, gosh, Professor Huang just suddenly reminded me that maybe you're just sitting here and not really, digesting. So Ms. Lu, what's the one word for that horizontal cleavage? What is it? Okay, class. Okay, not this class, but upper class, middle class, lower class. Communism is very good with class struggle. Financial means how much money you have. Like in Taiwan, we have we call 贵妇团, but I never heard of a 贫妇团. Okay, which means they are not very well organized. Okay, and my wife also belonged to one of her own class. She was very upset yesterday when I went home. She said she went shopping at Da'an district, and she said most of the the stores, the apparel they have, the dress they have, are all for midget. You understand? For midget means for very skinny people. And she said some stores, when she went in, they immediately said, "Oh, we don't have your size." And my wife said, "Wait a second, my husband bought me a petite from Sweden." Okay, when I went to Sweden, I bought her a dress. The size is called petite, small. But in Taiwan, she is oversized. So that's discrimination. She said, "I'm going to organize people to protest." And they have some shows there. She asked them, "Do you have different size?" "No, only one size." Okay, all size I think is for you or for someone who is really skinny. So you need to organize. Okay, that's why class is important. Horizontal class. Okay, so we have that. And next one, Wu Pingkai. Can you give me example of vertical cleavages? Race. Okay, race is always one. Li Mukun. 在吗 张纯瑞，董彦成，尤慧瑜。Am I hitting it? 施一方。Okay. Can you give me another example of vertical cleavages? Vertical. So we have class, we have race. Gender. Okay, gender is one. Gender is mentioned in the book, but we know the differences. But how many times we really see that being organized, or people identify themselves first as women? It is being mentioned in the book, gender, but gender, I think, is not the kind of identity that will galvanize people together. It does, but not all the time. Okay, so gender is one. What else? Yang Lide. Yeah. Religion. Okay, so you get the idea now. Race, religion, gender, region, language, right? So those are, we call the vertical cleavages. 叶家豪、罗玉、李俊德。Yeah. Okay. What do we mean by reinforcing cleavages?
Means that it enhances the problems of, of like the poor and rich problems.
Okay, so how do you reinforce the problem? So rich and poor people, they do have, we call, class conflict, different interests. But how do you reinforce that cleavage?
Rich people don't respect the poor.
Well, that's for sure. I don't think, I live in a place, right next door is Haozai. Okay? I think they care less about us. They keep throwing, cigarette butts to my yard. And thinking, hey, you live in this poor apartment, of course you can have this cigarette butt. But I live in this mansion, But that's not just reinforcing. Reinforcing means two differences reinforce each other. Right? So we already have the class differences already. But what do you mean by reinforcing then? So according to Ms. Shi, we have gender cleavage, right? So is it all the poor people in Taiwan are women? All the rich people are men? No. But good-hearted people are all women, right? Evil-spirited are all men, okay. But in terms of class, but you do have a point here, because women in a lot of countries earn very less, maybe 70% of what men earn. Why? They do the same work, but not the same pay, because the boss will say, hey, you don't have to raise a family. The man has the responsibility, so we have to pay him a little bit more, just to make him feel more respected. Okay, but that's one. I don't think we have a reinforcing in terms of gender. But what else do we have reinforcing with the class?
Races?
Religion? Races. Okay, so in the United States, people said, in terms of population, right? Asian probably above average, or the white people probably earn the most, and Arab has also earned a lot in the United States. Then Asian, and then maybe Hispanic, and then African American. So there is some kind of reinforcing cleavages. Okay, in other society we also find that as well. Okay, so races can be one, region can be one. Poor region like Italy, people will say in the north it's the richest, and then the south. That's the reason when it's so poor you have to work as a what? Mafia, right? So in the southern part of Italy, in Sicily, you have the mafia, 黑手党, right? If it's not poor, then you will not have that problem. Okay, I'll give you my best example here. This country here. Okay, which country is this one? This little one, organized by former slaves from the United States. 陈永元、朱军伟. Yeah. Do you know this country here? West Africa. Most of African countries were colonized, and this country was one of the very few that was never colonized. It was established by former slaves from the United States. Now, the country's name is Freedom. So which country's name is Freedom? Okay, Sierra Leone, the capital is called Freetown, right? But this country's name is called Freedom. Land of Freedom. Liberty? 利百代? No. What is liberty? Which country's name has this liberty? Libya? No, not Libya. West Africa here? Oh, here. This one. Okay. Can you see here? Liberia. Have you heard of this country? Liberia. 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 Now, Liberia is a country with former slaves from the United States establishing the country. But those former slaves said, hey, even though we were slaves, but we came back from the United States of America. So I think we have some ink water inside us. You understand ink water? 喝过洋水了。洋墨水了. Okay. So they feel they are superior than the local black. Okay. This group who came from America called Americo-Liberian. Okay. They think they are superior than the local. The locals, you're so barbarian. You're not civilized. We went to this, the new world. So 5% of the Liberian population ancestor came back from the United States, and they think they are the upper class. Okay? This is not racial. This is what? This is also race. It's ethnic. Okay? Americo-Liberian totally dominated society. They represent the top, and 5% of the population from 1840s until 1980s, 140 years. Every president is an Americo-Liberian. Because they're the upper class. Okay, so that's one example of this, cleavage, and that's reinforcing, right? If you happen to be Americo-Liberian, and you have to be government official, and you became rich. Okay, so that's what we call reinforcing. What is cross-cutting? Can you give me one example of cross-cutting? Liu Yulan. Yeah. What is cross-cutting? Okay, here there is a cross-cutting there, the bars outside the window, or a goal,围棋 cross-cutting lines, right? What do you mean by cross-cutting? Okay, just a second. I want to hear. What is cross-cutting? Something spread. Okay, so how? Show me. Give me one example. Cross-cutting. We already said gender might be cross-cutting, right? What else can be cross-cutting? Okay, let's put it this way. In Taiwan, do we have one particular ethnic group that is very rich, and then one particular ethnic group that is very poor? Okay, so for example, within Hakka, we have rich Hakka, we have poor Hakka. Within mainlanders, we have rich mainlanders. We also have very poor mainlanders. We have rich Taiwanese or Fujian, and then we have poor. So that's what we call cross-cutting. Okay. Now, which society is more stable, reinforcing or cross-cutting? Cross-cutting. Always remember. Okay. Like Liberia, we said earlier, that is a reinforcing cleavage, right? 5% of the people think they are American Liberian, Americo-Liberian. So what happened? After 140 years, finally people say, hey, enough is enough. So a little sergeant, in military, in Africa, military coup, usually it's colonel, captain. They started the coup, right? 起码要是上尉或者少校吧，来发动军事政变。But in Liberia, a sergeant, 士官长，士官 so low in position. And what did he do? He killed the president. He executed the Americo-Liberian on the beach and videotape and send it to everyone. Okay? So this sergeant, who is not civilized Americo-Liberian, is in the remote, in the the ethnic group was in the interior. Okay, so that's why you will think it's going to be stable, but it's not. Okay, so cross-cutting and reinforcing. Remember this. If you didn't learn anything from Professor Yan, remember this. I think you can impress a lot of people. Oh, our society, we have vertical cleavages, we have horizontal, but we have cross-cutting. We don't have reinforcing. People say, what are you talking about? So deep. Wow. Right? This is going to... Okay, so we already talked about the different cleavages, ethnic, religious, regional, and linguistic. And later we will look at the most important one being ethnic and religion. Okay, we already talked about the cleavage of these different groups. And Eric, you're Creole, right? That's what people say. You're Creole. Mestizos, black, and then. Okay, religious cleavage, we already give you some example. Now, religion, which is very big, but usually I think the book talk about two types of religion. One is your individual belief. Okay, what is your individual belief? This is how you think, your individual behavior should be organized daily. If you believe in God, you believe in so and so, you said, well, I cannot do this because, this is against my religion, right? So this is one type of religion, idea of transcendence. So what is transcendence? Yang Wenting. Yeah, what is transcendence? Have you heard a guy in the 19th century called Thoreau? 梭罗湖滨散记 What is it? Transcendentalism. What is transcend? Transcendence. Which is related to supernatural realities. What is it? Transcend. Oh, for example, people said you might have differences, okay, in terms of race, different races. But when you play sports, it transcends different ethnic groups. I mean, in Taiwan, people might not feel comfortable with African American before, but hey, Michael Jordan, the kids, is not afraid of Michael Jordan, right? Or they will grab Michael Jordan, they will grab Shaq O'Neal and ask for autograph or something. So that's transcend something. What is it transcend? Or some kind of singers in Taiwan that would transcend. People would say, hey, she or he is, we don't care, what kind of background, he's just good. Transcend the different segments or, parts of the society. Transcend means above, surpass. 中文叫什么？超越。不是卓越，超越，就是 you are above something. So this is idea of of your supernatural reality. You're above this world. You are connected with the upper world. Okay, that's one idea. Okay, the second idea is of sacredness, being holy. You talk about system of holy language you speak or practice you do. So personally, what do you do? Being holy every day. Some people, Catholics, a devout Catholic, what would they do every day? They will, just like some Buddhists counted the beads. 中文叫什么？佛珠是吧？ Okay. And the Catholic also, they have their rosary. What is a rosary? 念那个玫瑰经，有没有听过？ Never heard of it? You also like how many times you have to recite. That's we call holy language and practice you need to do. Okay, some people will have their devotion, their prayer, and then the idea of ultimacy. What is ultimacy? What is ultimate? Ultimacy. Ultimate. Ultimacy.
A better situation or circumstance in your life by trusting your religion.
Well, it's almost like what is the final? Ultimate means ultimately, at final, where does this life go? So you find the meaning of life. So it's relating to what does it mean for your existence? Like who am I? Why am I here? That type of question. So that's religion. Okay, that's religion. That's individual level. But then a lot of time, what do we see religion? We see not this type of religion. We see the other type, right? We see the religion, the religious institution. Oh, there is a temple, right? Or people we call with frogs. 带那种穿这个叫什么衣服，那种领子的。Okay, recently, like 2 weeks ago, we have the tragedy of the second highway, right? One of the victim's wife is a priest from the Presbyterian church, 长老会的女牧师 right? She is wearing that so you can see the religious official, be a priest or be a reverend. So that's one. Or institutions, the Catholic Church, the Buddhist organization. That's what we call religion. And then also some of the social groups and movement of religious concern. Okay, sometimes it's the building, it's the establishment, but other times it's the movement, it's the groups. So that's what we have. So here, both can come together, then you will have an identity. Some people have this religious identity only at the individual level. They don't interact. But a lot of time, it's with the institution, with the group. So, for example, in Taiwan, what is one of the most visible group of religion in Taiwan, religious group that is most visible, that they always wear the blue, Lin Qing'en, Li Qing'en? Yeah, which one? Okay, Tzu Ji, right? Tzu Ji is so famous, not just in Taiwan, but internationally now. So it is a group that it also has a movement. People begin to organize. It's the most organized group in Taiwan. Others might not. Okay, certain people have certain idea, but they don't organize. So this is the two type of religion: individual level, and then at the societal level, religious establishment. And ethnicity. Okay, this is the important definition. Ethnicity concern share characteristic of a racial or cultural group. Identity means you have something in common. You share. We call share characteristics. Okay. So, for example, what do we share as Taiwanese here? At least physical outlook. What do we share? Most of us, I think, are black or dark brown hair. Do you agree? That's share characteristic, right? Also, I think the same goes with what, Japanese and Korean. Okay, what else? Straight hairs mostly. Of course, there are some curly ones, but mostly straight hairs. Do you agree? What else do we share? This is we talk about physical. You think, you're an Asian. What else? Do you have anything that other things we share? Color of skin, okay. Even though, do we have people like Michael Jackson try to, whiten the skin? Maybe. Okay. Well, the color of skin. So the color of your eyes as well. I think what do we write about the color of our eye? What is it? It's not black. It's brown, right? Okay, but I don't think we have blue eyes. I think we have brown eyes. Okay, so those are share characteristics. But that's a physical feature. What other things do we share? Language. Okay, so I think we share the language. But what else? In addition to language, okay, sometimes because of the dialect, you even have subgroups. They have a different identity, right? They speak different dialects. They have that identity as well. But in addition to language, what else? Do we have a shared religion here in Taiwan? No? I think we have one. In a way, don't you think Confucius? Kind of, right? Confucius? Some people say it is. It's remember, going back, it is how do you organize your daily life. Oh, you know, Confucius said, 己所不欲, no, 不是, not Confucius said. Confucius said, what is that? You are housebound. 你是做宅男宅女. You said, people said, why? You said, oh, 父母在，不远游. I learned from Confucius. Huh? Okay. But I think sometimes it does govern our way of life, right? Okay, but what else? Language. I love to use that cuisines. Don't you think we share something there? Okay, maybe not everything, but most of the Taiwanese who travel abroad, no matter whether they are basketball players or other kind of thing, other kind of jobs, what do? They always carry with them instant noodles. Okay, 泡面. Without 泡面, a lot of people cannot survive. Okay, what else? Very easy to have diarrhea when eating cheese. Is that something we share? 很多人好像不能吃 cheese. 可以了吗？你们现在比我好吗？可以了。Oh, you know, every time when I was in the U.S., we have groups like in Alaska. Okay, one summer, Taiwan's Olympic baseball team came, and then we have to help them to order food. One thing is when you order the burger, no cheese in the burger. Okay, somehow. So those are the share thing. What else do we share? What about some kind of education system, some kind of background we have? So, or watching the kind of television together. So those are we call share characteristics of a cultural group, right? 实验文 might be one, right? So they are something we share, and then those will reinforce your identity. So here, I think they are asking these issues about identity. First one is, where do we get this consciousness from in the first place? For example, I'll give you one example of my son. My two boys were born in the United States and then went to school there until they came back in high school. Okay, so my son always thought he's American. Right? You know, he's being taught, and America has a way of teaching. It's a multicultural, multiracial, so he felt he was American, right? When he came back to Taiwan, but somehow, because he shared a lot of this experiences with the school here in Hsinchu, the science experimental school, science park experimental, 什么新竹科学园区实验高中 Okay, anyway, bilingual department. And all those people share something, so they identify with themselves. That's fine. They went together. And then when he went back to the U.S. for college, he said, oh, suddenly he realized he's Taiwanese. And then he organized in the University of Washington as a president of the Taiwanese Student Association. I said, how much do you know about Taiwan? He was the one only spending 4 years of high school in Taiwan and doesn't read a lot of Chinese because he saw one famous glass stores in Taiwan as raising bird. 赛鸟眼镜行. What is 赛鸟? Have you never heard of this one? Okay. I think it's called 宝岛, right? But very similar, don't you think? Okay, so anyway, he changed his identification, and when he was little kids, he used to have all, different kinds of, mostly whites, but also some Hispanic friends in college. In college, most of his friends are Asians. So that identity, how does that consciousness come from? Physically, you're different, but what else? Maybe some else you share, okay? Now, do we have that consciousness in Taiwan? How do we develop that being a Taiwanese first? Okay, this might be difficult. Qiu Guanjun, can you tell me how do you identify yourself, and then how does that consciousness of you, emerge the first, started? For example, gender, no problem, right? When did you realize you're a girl? Yeah. When did you realize, like a little, like at the age of 3, at the age of 2? We don't know. Your parent reinforced that, right?
When my parents take me to girls' bathroom.
Okay, girls' bathroom. Okay, so that consciousness emerged. You identify yourself as a girl, so no problem with that one. But how do you identify yourself? Whether you're from, let's say, well-to-do family, or poor or middle class. When do you get that sense of your class?
In my
kindergarten. Because of the tennis shoes you wear, different from the others.
Yeah, because I know I don't have to worry about my 3 meals.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about your lunch, your meals. Okay, so that's one. I never realized my family was okay because of my father. People, do we still do this in Taiwan? They will ask you your family situation. 台湾现在还填吗？家庭什么状况？啊？小学这叫什么？中文叫什么？小康啊 I hate that word. 小康。Most people do that, right? 小康。I never see people say, "Hey, I'm just filthy rich." 没有人写富有嘛，对不对？都是写小康。I didn't see anyone say poor, dirt poor. 贫穷也很少人写嘛。And my father, such an educated scholar, he wrote 4 words. 量入为出。Measuring what you got your income, and then you spend that, you spend what you earn. That's what my father wrote. Okay, 量入为出, something like that. Okay, so I never realized, what class I belong to. But this is what I think, people say, where does that consciousness come from? That racial one, that religion one, right? And, for example, you find a group of Christians, they don't know each other, but they just feel, you feel you can ask, are you this, are you that? Or, when people are eating vegetarian food, you begin to, so those are, where is that consciousness come from? I think the first place, people would like to know. Okay. The second one is, this ethnic consciousness form. How does this ethnic consciousness form in the first place? Okay. Eventually, it is ethnicity. Very strangely, okay. This ethnic things. It's not just the language, it's not just the religion, but also an identity, a shared experience as well. And very importantly, how does this one come from? And then why certain people have a stronger identity than the others? We call same group, within the same groups. Why certain individuals, are very, fervor on his identity or her identity. Others are not. Okay. And then why does it rise and fall over time? Some identity, people strongly identify with that group, and then gradually it declines or then revitalize again. So this is important, and we will take a break and look at this identity issue. Okay. Okay. Now, these are the issues, and we want to mention this one first and then go back. First, not predetermined. What does that mean? Means you might be your parents' daughter or son. That's, I mean, you cannot choose your parent. That's predetermined. But being a Taiwanese is not necessarily determined. How do we determine whether you're Taiwanese or not? You say, oh, you know, if you're born here in Taiwan, if your parents are both ethnic Taiwanese, I think you're Taiwanese. But then suddenly, okay, in Taiwan, there are a lot of people here now cannot speak the Taiwanese dialect, especially those who grew up in Taipei. So, if you don't speak the Taiwanese dialect, does that still qualify you as Taiwanese? Still? And then if you support unification, I have one student, one assistant. I think his Mandarin is very strong Taiwanese accent. Okay? And he came from a, deep green background. But he's pro-unification. He works in China now. Right? So, people might not think he is Taiwanese anymore. And then, okay, that's what we call predetermined. And not inevitable means you have to be. Okay, can be, we call fluid. Fluid means like liquid, water, can flow, can change. Okay, so there is fluidity here in terms of your ethnic identification. And also, more importantly, can be constructed. Constructed means people can build, can make a new identity. Okay, you might not have this identity before, but now you can be one example is in the United States, most people, you have to fill out which group you belong to. White, Caucasian, Hispanic, Asian Pacific Islanders. Okay, that's what we are. If you're in the Asian Pacific Islanders. Okay, and then African American or black. But some people say, but I'm really mixed. I don't even know can you create a category called mixed? Really mixed. I mean, some people, for example, from India look a lot like Mexican. Okay, so how do you tell? So you can create a new identity that way. So identity can be constructed. For example, our government before, denied there is a sect called Taiwanese, right? Constructing everyone being Chinese. But now we have a different identity. So sometimes can be self-perceived. Okay, some people say, hey, I am Taiwanese. But other people say, I'm sorry, you're not Taiwanese. That, but I am. I think I'm Taiwanese. People say, no, you're not. Okay, so that's the identity part. Even you said, I want to be one. For example, Obama, right? Obama is an African American, black. People, some blacks say, gosh, this guy is not black enough, right? Then people say, he's not an African American. His father came from Africa, not like we've been here generations. So Obama is an African, Obama is an American, but he's not an African American. So this is how people perceive you. Are you going to be accepted? Or, you know, you say, I am a Catholic. You say, I am Catholic, but you only go to church once a year for the Christmas Eve. You know, are you still Catholics? You know, maybe, but some people will say, no, he is only Catholic maybe in name. So that's what we call this identity can be self-perceived. You think you are, but other people might not want to accept you. Okay. The same thing in Taiwan. We have a lot of foreign brides who might want to be considered as Taiwanese now, who might speak without any accent anymore. But most people will say, oh, you know, so-and-so is a foreign bride. They will remember that. So even if you say, I am Taiwanese, and you look like us, you know, but still people will not say that. So if this is identity, and then we go back to look at how does it form. Okay, so why this consciousness form in the first place? Okay, again, going back, now, in Taiwan, some people say, I'm Taiwanese. Why? I'm running for political office. You have a incentive. Okay, if in the United States, if I found out I have certain kind of Native American ancestry in myself, right? But I never look like one, I will not admit I am a Native American. 假如我找到我的有印第安血统 okay, but I don't look like an Indian Native American. I never want to say I am Native American. But then I realized being a Native American, it's a little bit like being a Aborigines in Taiwan, right? You have a lot of scholarship. You can get special treatment from the government in terms of civil service exam. 公职考试好像有加分哦。Suddenly a lot of people say, hey, you know, let's check. Maybe I have some, you know, blood. I have native blood, right? One of my friend who, again, originally from Shanghai, you know, parent from Shanghai, went to the United States, and as a little kid, he realized one thing. He said, I cannot afford my kids' tuition, but if I marry a Native American, then, you know, there will be lots of scholarship waiting for my son. And indeed, you know, if you qualify for 1/4, just like Taiwan, right? Taiwan 是1/4，对不对？那个有原住民要有1/4嘛，Okay, I have one student who is from 少族1/4, 1/4. You know, she passed the civil service exam. Now she's working for the 劳保局, I think, something like that. But anyway, you will have that advantage. So suddenly, people will form this. Sometimes for, I would not use the monetary, but for certain kind of gains. Okay, some people want to say being Hakka. Why? They are running for political office in Miaoli. Okay, and if you're not Hakka, you're running for a political office in Miaoli would be difficult, right? So you claim yourself. So that's why we are saying some consciousness because you are shared experience, but others purposely try to take advantage of being that. Okay, now a lot of mainland Taiwanese in Taiwan, they will not say they are Taiwanese, but when they went to China, they said, "Oh, we are Taiwanese," huh? Because being a Taiwanese in China may be a little bit superior. Okay, means we are well mannered. We do things. We are more cultural, right? So this is what you have that consciousness being developed and shared experience. Earlier during the break, I mentioned some of the things you share. At least we share as little kid uniform. I love that khaki uniform. Okay, we have that khaki uniform, and we share the experience of keeping our hair really low, short. So those are the kind of things you share. And then the consciousness, ethnic one, I think gradually is strange. In a multi-cultural society, multi-racial society, when having friends and then dating is quite different. Dating people, somehow dating someone of their same ethnic background. Okay, so that's one. And then individual of the same group vary in fervor. Okay, so this is the one, I think I am one of those who have very little sentiment for a strong ethnic identification, because I think every individual is unique. I don't want to be classified as certain group, and then people will think I vote certain way. So there are a lot of people being shocked by my voting record. I have voted for DPP, for KMT, for New Party, for Taiwan Solidarity Union, and mostly for non-partisan. Okay, people will think I will vote for certain people. That's wrong. Okay, people will think I will go do certain things. No, I think individual is different. So some people have very strong identity. They insist on eating certain food. They insist on using certain things, but others do not. For example, Jewish people have very strong identity. They insist on eating kosher food. Okay, they insist on eating certain things. How the meat has to be prepared in certain ways. Otherwise, they will not eat. Right? So, but others don't care. Okay, and the same thing here in Taiwan about the Chinese New Year. Some people still celebrate, and I found out most Taiwanese celebrate the Chinese New Year overseas. You go to Chinatown in New York, they celebrate the Chinese New Year more faithfully than people in Taiwan. People in Taiwan nowadays, during the Chinese New Year, what do? People say, oh, why don't we take a vacation to go to Bali or some places, right? This will never happen in my generation, but nowadays it's happening. So quite different. So this identity of a certain value, certain tradition of group differentiate and then rise and fall over time. Okay. For example, even like in Taiwan, those who identify themselves as Chinese long time ago, like 20 years ago, a lot. Right now, less than 10%. Okay, it's a generation thing, but also more and more people change their view when they go to China, and then seeing the difference. So this is the identity issue, and you have to remember this can be self-perceived. For example, people from Taiwan say they are Chinese. They go to China. China say you're Taiwanese, and they come back to Taiwan. Taiwan say you're Chinese. Okay, so very difficult for them. Okay, so they perceive themselves to be certain ways, but then other people do not think. So you sometimes have to be concurred by others. Means agree upon by others. They think you are this. One more example. People said Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton's husband, former president of the United States. He is the first black president of the United States. Well, you said no, he is not black, but they said he is very comfortable with the black people, African American. In his government, he cares a lot. There are a lot of African American working in his government. So people ask Obama, saying, "Is Clinton really a black?" What does Obama answer? How does Obama answer this question? So of course he's not. No, you cannot say that, right? He said, well, I have to see his dance move. Okay, I think that's a good one, right? You know, if you just put one Chinese here, Asian here, Taiwanese here, with an African American, you know who can dance more, probably, right? There's a natural rhythm there. I remember when I first went to the United States, waiting in line, go to Washington Memorial in Washington, D.C., and then there is a gap, right, when people move. So we just walk, follow the line. But an African American has to dance to that, you know. So that, no, we just, okay, right? But African American just dance, you know, forward. Okay, so that's what we call, you know, need to be concurred by others, something. Okay. Now, in the book, I'm sorry, the chapter I gave you, you missed a chart. That's the reason we're not going to go very deep here. I will try to bring it to you next week and send you. There are 4 different kinds of religious ethnic groups. First one is we call antipathetic, okay, which means they do not trust the government. They think the government is trying to change, so they are against the status quo. For example, I use this one, fundamentalist group in religion. Of course, they're not happy with any government, right? Because most of the government will not respect the strict religious law being applied. They will be, most government has to be more tolerant, but fundamentalists will not tolerate behavior or belief that are totally in contradiction to theirs. So, for example, fundamentalist Christians in the United States not happy with the government. Why? First, how can abortion be legal? How can gay marriage be allowed? So those are and in a Islamic society, the fundamentalists will not be very happy with some of the government like Turkey, which is a lay government that will not apply, you know, all the strict Islamic law to the society. So we have fundamentalist groups, and then we have concern with self-help. Okay, those are groups saying we're not really against the government, but I don't think government can change anything. So we are concerned more with the self-help. You know, we're going to organize ourselves in certain ways that we're helping each other, and then the syncretist groups is those who believe they have to follow a certain way of life and trying to defend their way of life, not to be changed. Okay, so these are the 4 groups. So we will come back to this later, but we want to look at the group's common features. First one, message of hope. Okay, I think every group leader will give the message of hope. You know, you join us, and then you have, you know, some kind of expectation, and then program of action means you have to do something, right? If you belong to Tzu Chi, you know, it's not easy to put that blue, what do we call it, Changshan or something on, right? That you have to work in that. You have to be accepted as part of the group. So you have to do certain action, accumulate certain voluntary work in order to do that. So there is a program of action you have to do. Okay, to care about people, there is a certain action, and they are oppositional in character, means they are against the status quo. Okay, some are against the government, others are trying to change. Okay, when you have groups, they want to change. For example, if we have groups in Taiwan who organize the foreign brides, right? So what are they opposed? What do they oppose? Su Ho-ming. Yeah. Okay. What do they oppose? If we have groups, people who organize the foreign bride groups in Taiwan, what would they oppose? Oppose having more foreign brides in Taiwan, depriving Taiwan girls marriage opportunity? No, I don't think so. 有吗？我们台湾的女性有组织起来说，哦，太多外籍新娘把我们的机会都给剥夺了，有没有？没有，好像没有。有这样 group 吗？我们有帮外籍新娘 ，we have groups for helping foreign brides, but for what? 帮助他们有更好的三从四德，是这样的吗？你觉得我们帮外籍新娘的这些社工团体或者这种天主教的，他们在干嘛 ？What are they doing? 教国语。Okay, that's not oppositional. Think, hey, these people being discriminated. They don't have their, decent human rights, so we need to help them, right? They're being abused, some of them. So that's what we call oppositional. Oppositional of the policy or the government or the society not able to protect their basic human rights. So that's what we call oppositional. Right now, there's an issue in the United States about illegal immigrants. Have you heard about this one? Illegal immigrants from the state called Arizona. Arizona said, we have so many illegal immigrants. So nowadays, if the police stop someone in traffic, can check the ID. If they don't have the proper paper or document, that is a crime against the state law. So it means policemen, hey, Arizona, most of the illegal immigrants come from where? From China. China will go through such a difficulty, go to the deserts south of Arizona to cross the border from Mexico. Okay, so mostly from Mexico, right? But if you have people from Mexico being illegal immigrants, but what happened to other Hispanic population in Phoenix, Arizona? Police said, you look like one, right? It will stop you. So causing a lot of inconvenience, because if you happen to be a Mexican American or Hispanic, you look like one, then you will be stopped because there is a concern. So it's almost like if you are working in New York, Chinatown as a dishwasher, you must be an illegal immigrant. Otherwise, why are you doing this? Okay, from Fuzhou or from China, right? So that's why there is a group right now called Mexican American. I think what is it? Anyway, it's a group helping to defend the legal rights of the immigrants, illegal or not. They think it still need to be. So oppositional in terms of policy, oppositional in terms of government action or social value. That's why we call oppositional. So these are the groups trying to change that. And if we look in the book gave you countries that have high ethnic fragmentation. So this is the one we said, oh, ethnic cleavages in these countries are very high. Angola, Cameroon, these are all African countries. Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya, Liberia, Malawi, Nigeria, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zaire. Okay, so here you have the high ethnic fragmentation. Okay, the book said if the number is over 0.8, that is high. And then they give you another group which is high in terms of religious fragmentation. Okay, also mostly in Africa here, except Trinidad, right? So you have a lot of this, but both of these factors are what kind of cleavages? Do you remember this one? Li Yuxun, Wen Weizhong. Okay, yeah. What kind of cleavage this one? Religion and ethnicity. Horizontal or vertical? Diagonal. 斜的，对角线的。Vertical. Okay, so vertical. So they do overlap, right? So these are the countries like high fragmentation on both. And then you have civil war, Angola, Chad, Ethiopia, Liberia, Mozambique, and Uganda. I think this is where I make the difference between me and the textbook. The textbook said if you have religious fragmentation, difference, I mean a lot of different religion, then a lot of different ethnic groups. It's almost like reinforcing the differences, right? But it's not necessarily true. Or even if it's true, if you don't have this vertical cleavage being so obvious along this line, reinforcing line, then the society will be okay. You understand what I'm saying? Liberia had a civil war. Why? Because the Americo-Liberian, and most of them also are Christians. You know, they are educated. They're from the United States. They're the Presbyterians. They're the Baptists. What else? I think there's another group. Methodists. Oh, they love Methodists. Who are the Methodists? 方法者. Methodist. You heard of Baptist? You know Baptist? In Taiwan, what do we call? 浸信会. Okay, Presbyterian. Maybe you call elders. 长老会. Okay, and then Methodist. 方法论的. Very similar to one of our breakfast shop. 不是美而美，美以美教会。I don't know why called 美以美. Okay. Some people thought it's a breakfast shop. Okay. But these Liberians belong to these groups, right? And then you have a lot of we call interior, barbaric, different ethnic groups. They happen to be Muslims in Liberia as well. So you have we call reinforcing, and then the class differences. So that's the big problem. And you look at Angola. Okay, I love Angola here. Angola is here. Where is my Angola? Okay, so you have groups in the interior and then in the coastal. Three major groups. So very high fragmentation here. But they also had a civil war before. Now, I think the big question people like to ask is high ethnicity countries like Rwanda or high ethnicity fragmentation like Tanzania. Tanzania is, if you look at the number, where is my number? I think I might have one here. Gosh, I don't have it. Okay. I think Tanzania is very high. They have hundreds different ethnic groups. But Tanzania, one of the most stable countries in Africa, never had a civil war. Somalia, on the other hand, everyone is Somali. is a nation state, okay? And Somali is terrible, right? Civil war, anarchy. So it's not going to explain everything. Others with civil war or ethnic conflicts that is high on fragmentation index on both, like Cote d'Ivoire right now, right? Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, the president, the presidential election is not held. Has been delayed for 8 years. Why? Because the Catholic South doesn't want a Muslim from the North to win the election. You know, so if they made some calculations that if we have the election and he's going to win, so we cannot have an election. So what do? You know, they keep postponing. Hopefully, would you please die? So if you know such a popular Muslim from the north, if you die, then we can have the election, right? So they have a civil war. The country is divided into north and south, but no election. Kenya also alternating political power between different groups. Rwanda and Burundi, you know the story about Hutu and Tutsi. So high fragmentation on both ethnic and religion can be a problem. If we look at this fragmentation in Africa and then compare to Asia, okay, now last week we mentioned about countries, different religious groups, even though they belong to the same ethnic group. Only Thailand, which two groups? You said the red, yellow shirt and red shirts, huh? 泰国现在就是红衫军、黄衫军嘛。Buddhist and non-Buddhist 是这样的吗？佛教徒跟非佛教徒，不是吧？ Buddhists and must be there are a lot of Chinese in Thailand, so must be Buddha having problem with Confucius. It's between Buddhists and what group? Muslim in the south. Okay, remember which country is south of Thailand? Myanmar? Myanmar is in the west. Which one is in the south of Thailand? Is that water? Which country? Hey, by the way, this is ASEAN +1. 东协加一. Okay, I think we need to learn more about our neighboring country. So which country is south of Thailand? Actually connected, the border connected. Arab 是不是阿拉伯？阿拉伯 Arab 是一个也是马哦，阿拉伯民居。阿拉伯民居，我们考过试嘛？是不是？是什么？哪一个国家叫阿拉伯民居？马来西亚。Okay, so Thailand, south of Thailand is Malaysia, and Malaysia is a Muslim country, right? So southern Thailand, Buddhist and Muslim. Muslim in southern Philippines, so also as well there, conflict, right? And in Myanmar, we don't have that problem now, but we have what? Myanmar, do we have Buddhist? Yes. Do we have Muslim? No. What else do we have? We have non-Buddhist. We have the military government versus Buddhists. Okay, so you have the Buddhists is organized, and in a way they are also anti-status quo, right? They don't want the government to continue to procrastinate in terms of delaying the election or the democracy. So that's what in Asia we have different groups. Japan, what do we have? Do we have different groups that is really big problem? What's Japanese religion? Wang Yuhong. Yeah, Japan. What do they believe? Shinto. Shintoism. Shinto. 神道. Okay. But we also have Buddhists in Japan, right? Aren't we? Or I think there are also Christians in Japan. Do they have problem? No, they don't. I mean, I think Japan religion, just like Taiwan, not a big problem. Korea, what kind of religion do we have in Korea? Definitely not Shinto, right? Koreans? Hando. Kangwan-do, Jiangyuan-dao, Qingzang-dao. Oh, I'm sorry, that's province of Korea. That's not religion, right? Shinto is religion, 神道。但是到韩国那个道就变成神了，江原道、京畿道。Okay, what religion do we have in Korea? A lot of Buddhists as well, right? Korea has Buddhists. Korea has a lot of Christians, a lot of Catholics. I think it's about 1/3 each, I would say. Okay, a lot of Catholics, including former president called Kim Dae-jung. Why would he have that name? That name is not going to be accepted in Taiwan, right? 金大中有大中国思想的，Okay, but anyway, he's a Catholic. You have Christians, but Korea, never religion is not a big problem. What is the big problem in Korea? South and North? That's the ideology. But in South Korea, what kind of conflict do we have? Korea doesn't have conflict. Korea have conflict. The student and professor. Gosh, the student always protest. It's about time. It's going to be final now. About June, the Korean students know the professors are very conservative. They are radicals when they were students. Once they became professors, they're very conservative. So the student will protest in June every year, just to skip the final. Okay? No, students do not like the status quo. The students have a very strange idea. Some students want unification. Students want unification, and then once they became professors, they want status quo. Student is one group, but it's not a dividing group. The biggest one in Korea last time we talked about is what? Regions, right? Like Kim Dae-jung, the former president of Korea, he came from the southwest. We call Chola. I show you that one, Chola, not chocolate, Chola, 全罗道, right? When he competed for election, he won 90% of the votes there. That's a lot. I mean, even our populist President Chen Shui-bian didn't win 90% in Tainan County, right? Here, Kim Dae-jung won 90%. So region is a big problem. Why Korea? The southwest and the southeast is a big problem. So, have you read history? Xu Zhenqi. Yeah. What about history? What does history tell us about Korea being divided into three parts: the north, the southwest, and the southeast? Tang Dynasty, have you read about 薛仁贵征东? As a little boy, you never read that kind of book. No wonder you're in Tsinghua. No wonder I was in Fuda. Right? I read too many of those books. 没看过薛仁贵。听过薛平贵的歌仔戏 but not 薛仁贵真东 Okay, well, Korea one time was divided into 3 parts. Do you remember this? In Tang Dynasty? Silla, S-I-L-L-A. What is Silla? 新罗，还有呢？百济，还有呢？高句丽 Okay. So today they still have that division. I'm sorry, after more than 1,500 years, okay, they're still having that, 4,000 years. Okay, so that's Korea part. And if we look at the this division in Korea, which means when people cannot find something to divide them, to distinguish, to have cleavage, they will find something. Okay, if it's not ethnicity, if it's not religion, can be origin as well. And I'm not sure, Mr. Xu, can you tell Korea that we have 2 different kinds of Korean? 你看得出韩国人有2种吗？有一种比较接近中国人的，有一种很韩国的。Can you tell? You know, with more bones here. You know, some you just feel, you know, Korean right away. Some you don't. Some more smoother line. Okay. I'm not sure. That's what people told me. I cannot tell. But that's how people say that. So that's where we have this fragmentation. It's not necessary, again, ethnic or religion, can be regional, can be linguistic. Now, in Korea as well, this accent is so important. What is the accent? We have professors of Korean language, and people will laugh, oh, he is a professor of Korean language? He doesn't have the Seoul accent. 汉城的口音. That's more educated. That's more culture. What kind of accent do you have? Busan. What is Busan? Fusan. In the south. Okay. So once you learn that accent, it's difficult to. The region and the language or the linguistics, you have to reinforce that cleavage sometimes. Okay, I'll give you another example. People in the United States, in the South, in deep South, we call Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. Those states, when people speak, some people cannot understand. I have one student from Michigan. His father originally from the South, so he learned English in Michigan, American kid. He said when he go back to Mississippi, his father has to translate for him because he doesn't understand. Okay, as a little kid. Okay, so the same thing in China, but I don't think it's in Taiwan. Do we have that kind of accent that we cannot understand each other's? Even though we have accent, but I don't think we have, such a strong accent we cannot understand each other. And do we have an accent that people can say this is standard or this is more educated Taiwanese? No. It's not the accent, it's the usage. Right? It's certain words you use. If you use those words, I think that's wrong. But that's how I learned Taiwanese. It's all those words first, right? So this is where I think we ended up. And if you have those cleavages, what happened next? Just like I mentioned about Arizona immigration law. because of the differences, because of the ethnic, religious, racial, regional differences, there tend to be abuse of minority or human rights. Okay, so human rights can be compromised because of these cleavages. Okay, we're talking about two different kinds of human rights. One is we call the political rights. Okay, one is we call the civil rights, civil liberties. Political rights, certain groups are being excluded from the political rights before, but now it's more universal. But in terms of civil rights, this is where the human rights can be violated. So, but human rights became very important. Everybody talk about human rights. Even your professor, Professor Yan, some 30 years ago, engaged on Human Rights Day. I don't even know that today I'm going to talk about human rights. But it just happened, like my wife and I, looking at the calendar and said, well, it's a Human Rights Day. That's not bad, right? So why don't we just, get engaged on that day so we have a little heart. Say, oh, we are happily engaged on this Human Rights Day. Wow, what a couple who knows the importance of human rights long time ago. But anyway, so human rights, because of the group, might suffer. So that's why it's important. Especially, I think it has become more important in the third world because of what happened in the 1990s, especially in the post-Cold War era. Why post-Cold War? It's important people begin to look at human rights. Because during the Cold War, like in Taiwan, if the human rights record is not good, nobody cares. Why? Because we are anti-communism. As long as you're anti-communism, 保密防谍, right? 人人有责. 白色恐怖, but hey, that's for national security. That is okay. After the collapse of Soviet Union, after the war with communism ended, the Cold War ended, everybody began to say, no, do not use anti-communism as an excuse for violation of human rights. Before, a lot of we call dictators in Africa, in Latin America, American will protect them. Said, well, I know that guy is an SOB, but he's our SOB. You understand SOB? Son of beach. Okay. 海滩上的太阳. Okay. But if you are SOB, but you are American side, they said that's fine. You can violate human rights. But you are on the other side. Oh, criticize. But after 1990, you cannot do that. So all those dictators cannot say, hey, protect me. I am on your side. No, you cannot violate human rights. So that's a very important one. After Cold War, people have to look at the human rights. It's no longer based on the ideology, the communist ideology or anti-communism. The second reason is we have the third wave of democracy, and people begin to value human rights more during this period of time. And also in terms of globalization, which means more information, more awareness of the value of human rights being transferred to everywhere in the world. And, of course, the media as well. Okay, we call particularistic kind of rights. For example, in different culture, there is certain practice used to say this is part of the culture, but everybody said no, this is universal. Okay, for example, can we say father has the right to their kids, they can sell the kids? They say this is our culture. You know, the kids are property of the parents, so the parents can do whatever they want. You know, this is a part of the Asian culture. No longer, because of the different ideas, people begin to say universal. Children's rights are being protected now. Okay, instead of saying this, you know, Asian have this paternalistic authoritarian parent. That's, you should accept that as granted. Not anymore. So we're going to move to human rights, but I will bring also the list of the 4 groups for you next week.